Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Spartan Nation Radio here at our Okemos Ticket Machine studios. That's right. You need tickets to any event, border to border, coast to coast. Theticketmachine.com, 888-887-4411, 517-655-3201, theticketmachine.com. And man, so excited to be joined by our next guest. Just got off taking his team to the Final Four, and his name ain't Izzo. The one, the only, the great MSU soccer coach Damon Rensing. Damon, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Hondo.
I mean, I'm going to go back to when you guys left. You, to me, and I'm going to tell you how I would describe you, and this is a compliment. You're a steady Eddie. Izzo, emotional, out there. D'Antonio, he's not as emotional as Izzo, but you can tell when he's happy and he's mad. You're kind of always the steady Eddie guy. When I watched you guys loading up to leave, it was the first time I had seen that kind of it meant a lot to me. Izzo was out there. I think it really touched Damon Rensing, did it?
Absolutely. I mean, it was a very emotional day. I mean, I think it was kind of the start of getting to the Final Four, the start of realizing that you're actually going to go, and then, to see all those athletic department people. I've been at the athletic department for 20 years, so to see all those people come out and support the players and coaches, it was really, really a cool day. It hit me. That's
awesome. To me, I was asked, what was your biggest thing about, what stood out to you the most of the Final Four? I said, if you know Damon, and I've been there since before you were even a coach, your emotion on that day, I think, said the whole story to me. To me, that's when it hit me how enormous it was. I just thought that was really cool.
It was, especially because, we've got to the quarterfinal 3 times before and not got there. I've always thought the program was on the cusp, but you never know. I mean, there's a lot of good programs and coaches that haven't got to a Final Four in college soccer, so you never know if it's in the cards for you or not. So I think when we actually realized that we were going to be playing and going out to Santa Barbara, and that Saturday night against James Madison was phenomenal too. That was probably the other time you saw a pretty good amount of emotion from me in front of thousands of fans, and we had over 30 alumni come back, 40 alumni come back for that game. It was just surreal.
Damon, I apologize, but I don't know the intricacies of soccer recruiting. I know in hockey you're offering kids in 8th and 9th grade, football 10th, 11th grade, basketball 9, 10, 11. Can this have a huge impact on the next recruiting class? Or is it one that'll maybe, like for example in football, a big season doesn't really affect that next class, it's the following. Where will Michigan State see the impact of this?
That's probably a little bit more in the kids that are juniors in high school. Our senior class is done, the 2019 class is basically done. The 2020 class is about halfway done, so I think you could see some jumps there, and then obviously with those sophomores, the 2021 class, I think that we're just starting to make impressions on and see, and they're watching it. So I think that'll be very big in that 2021 class.
Again, I don't know the world of soccer, so I'm going to ask an honest, blunt question. I look at the Final Four. There are 3 Big Ten teams and a MAC school from Ohio. So it's this little footprint. I don't think of the upper Midwest as a soccer hotbed, but it has become that, hasn't it?
Well, it's really grown just in youth soccer all over. I mean, you look at Lansing, and we had a couple kids just from Lansing starting for us or playing for us, and Jack Beck and Farai Mutatu and Dewan Jones. So we had 3 of our significant players from just this East Lansing area. But you've seen a lot of money go into the clubs, a lot of indoor facilities. So now these Midwest kids can train year-round. It used to be, if you were in Texas or California, you got to train year-round, and the Midwest kids, had to sit on their thumbs for 3 months. But now there's all these indoor facilities, and guys are playing, and then I think there's so much on TV, so kids are watching it and following it. So it's really, really grown, and I think also the recognition of different programs. I think 15 years ago it used to be, oh, you got to go to an ACC school or a UCLA, or there's a handful of schools that maybe everybody knew that's where you're supposed to go. But now there's so many good coaches and programs, and the athletic departments are getting behind it more and more. I think they see the value in it, that you're seeing a lot of good players spread out, and so there's a lot more parity in Division I soccer.
For you guys, do you go practice? I don't know if you have like a spring football session where you can go practice sometime in the offseason. Do you go over and use the Duff, or do you go to somewhere else? How do you guys practice indoors?
Yep, we start up about mid-January, and we practice pretty much all spring. Not as in the fall we train almost every day, but in the spring it's probably 3 to 4 times a week. But we use the Duff, and that's been awesome. I mean, that's what, I don't know if everybody knows, but just how easy it is to work with football, and that even in these later stages in the NCAA tournament, when the weather out here was frightful, we would go inside to Duffy, which was quite delightful, you know, and they would work with us, and it's been a really good relationship, and it's been awesome. And they do that with all the sports.
Good for you. So is the Duff suitable for indoor practicing, or is that the kind of thing where you could have something as your own facility that maybe one day down the road you'd like, or does that work?
Duff works great. I mean, it's 120 yards long, which is same dimensions of a soccer field. You can get about 65 yards, so it's only about 5 yards, maybe too narrow, but for when we're training and practicing, it's all we need. And it's a great teaching environment. The ball moves really fast on the turf, so I think that's good for our players. That really helped us going out to Santa Barbara, because it was similar to playing on that Bermuda grass, which is fast. It's almost like, so we trained, even when the weather was decent, we trained on the turf just to get used to the speed of the grass.
Damon, in football, there is 3 yards in a cloud of dust or wide open. In basketball, it's playground of Kentucky or the sets of Tom Izzo. How would you describe Michigan State soccer's offensive philosophy?
I think we're pretty efficient. I think there's a lot of similarities to what we do. We're not so open. Some of the teams are really open, really talented, and they'd rather win a game 4-3, I think, than maybe 1-0. We're cut out a little bit more of the 1-0, 2-1 mold. But one of the things that you kind of evaluate in soccer is the percentage of possession. So who had the ball, kind of like a time of possession in football. In most of the games, we try to outpossess the teams, because if we have it, then we're not defending. And so we outpossessed most teams this year. I'd probably say about 85-90% of the games. We had a 60-40 percentage in possession. So that's another thing that we try to do is be one of the better possession teams in the country.
That's really interesting. Okay, let me dig in from a little bit of a different angle. How do you describe your defensive philosophy?
Our defensive philosophy is we're tenacious. Kind of in soccer, I would call it more of a matchup zone. If you want to look at it like a basketball, where they're guarding zones, they're shifting on the field, and then as soon as somebody kind of comes into that zone, in the balls there, it becomes more of a man-to-man. But we don't man-to-man all over the place. We don't press. Some teams will press like full court. We'll kind of pick them up midway, and we just feel like once it's in that zone, very tight lines, so it's hard to pass in between them, between our defensive line, our midfield line, and forward line. So we try to keep them within 35, 40 yards from front to back, so it becomes very difficult to kind of play through those lines. But we're always one of the better defensive teams.
Do you self-scout? Like, one of the thing that Izzo does, as soon as the season's over, he then has his assistants attack their own film. What did we do last year? What was predictable? I always admired that about Izzo. Do you guys self-scout? Like, at the end of the year, are you looking at this year now thinking, what can we change for next year?
Yeah, we'll definitely look at some things that we can do better, what we can work on. And even throughout the season, we start to do that and take notes. Like, maybe we did too many X's and O's with the guys before this game, instead of just kind of letting them play a little bit more. Maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe we didn't focus on certain plays. So we always kind of reevaluate. We'll actually, the soccer community's pretty close, and we'll even exchange scouting reports with other teams. Like,
oh, really?
Give us your scout. Yeah, for programs that we're close to, like, we'll give them what our scouting report was on, say, Maryland, and then Maryland will give us their scouting report on us. just because we know each other. And there's always a couple little things that maybe you pick up and find. It's usually with programs that you're very close with, that you trust. Probably similar like Izzo having a close scrimmage with Gonzaga where they talk and say, hey, this is what we thought we did or whatever. So we'll do that too sometimes.
Lastly, then we're going to get to a break and come right back. We're talking to Damon Rensing, MSU's just super soccer coach, great coach, just does so many great things. In fact, let's just do this. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more with the great Damon Rensing on Spartan Nation Radio.
When you need tickets to any event, border to border, coast to coast, or around the world, there's only one source for your tickets. It's theticketmachine.com, the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. You can reach them at 517-655-3201 or 888-887-4411. When you need tickets to any event, whether it's just to get in the door or you want the best seats in the house, go to www.theticketmachine.com, the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Spartan Nation Radio here at our Okemos Ticket Machine studios. Remember, you need tickets, any event, border to border, coast to coast. TheTicketMachine.com, 888-887-4411, 517-655-3201. TheTicketMachine.com. Joined by the great Damon Rensing, MSU soccer coach. Just got back from the Final Four. In the last segment, we were talking about self-scouting, looking at yourself. Now we come into this. Izzo said to me one time, and now that you've been to a Final Four, I can ask you this. He's got to the Final Four, and you've heard him say this, with some teams that probably weren't good enough to get there. But he said after they got there, then the easier part has been getting back because they had confidence. We know what it takes to get there now. And other teams may be panicked. Do you look for that kind of an impact? Do you think next year's team just becomes better because of the confidence saying, wait a minute, we've gotten there now. Now we know we can get there.
I think that it can't hurt. I definitely think it can't hurt. You certainly got to continue to have the talent. I think we got a good group of guys coming back. I think you saw that. I mean, for us to get to 4 quarterfinals in the last 6 years, our guys were comfortable playing in those round of 16 games and stuff, and we needed that game to get over the hump. And so now that we've gotten over the hump, I think it is possible. What I've learned in those games is when you haven't been there, sometimes you think you got to play this like perfect game. And you're never going to play a perfect game. And when things don't go perfectly, the player's like, "Oh, it's not our night. If we want to get to a Final Four, we've got to play perfect." Actually, all you got to really do is just go out and play hard, play smart, and play a good game. Because if you're talented enough, you'll end up winning the game. So we try not to get too caught up in the moment or winning or playing perfectly. It's just trying to play a good game and understand there'll be mistakes.
That's really fascinating to me. I find that's interesting to me. Damon, when you talk about recruiting, what's this future? What's this incoming? I know if nobody's signed, you can't talk about them specifically, but give us how many of these freshmen coming in do you expect to be big impact guys?
Well, we'll always have a couple that I think I've started a freshman almost every year. So this is my 10th year. So to me, if you're not bringing in freshmen that are going to push the lineup, push the older kids, and eventually one of them or two of them start, then I don't think you're doing your job recruiting. On the opposite of that, if you have 5 or 6 freshmen that are starting, chances are you're not doing your job developing the talent that you have. So there's got to be a balance. But I think there's a couple guys that have a chance to come in and impact. And one of the good things with soccer, similar to basketball, is you can sub too. So it's not like if you don't start, you can still come in and get your feet wet and impact the game.
How fans want to know about recruiting. When I mentioned you were going to be on, I got so many, because people don't understand it. How accelerated is recruiting in soccer? I remember something fascinating. Mark D'Antonio, Tom Izzo liked to go watch a kid in person. Simone Jardim, who used to be the tennis coach,
right.
She used to say to me, it's almost impossible for me to really, I just don't go sit there and watch a tennis match. I'll just watch the video. I don't have to go out as much. Where is it in soccer?
We do video to narrow things down, but there's not a player, whether he's a walk-on or an All-American, that we don't try to go see live. I think seeing the pace, seeing the confidence, seeing their body language. I think, a camera can only catch so much of the game and obviously where the ball is, but I like to see how they interact with their coach, their other players, the referee. So not all of that stuff is caught on camera, so I think you can catch some character and really get a feel for the environment and also the opponent, just how fast and athletic they are. So, we do most of our evaluations, we start evaluating as sophomore and junior years in high school. and then we usually start to kind of make offers and bring kids on campus around their junior year. What I found is that, just boys in general, they mature physically a little later, and so with that physical maturity can become confidence. So you might have a smaller kid that's really good on the ball and technical, but he's kind of get beaten around his freshman, sophomore year, and then he hits a little growth spurt, gets more confident, really becomes a nice player. And if you look to grab kids too early, I think you can miss that. Likewise, or counter that, you could have a kid who's already expanded his growth spurt. He's fast, bigger, faster, stronger as a freshman, but then as everybody catches him, he's been relying on that athleticism, and now he's not as good as reading the game or skillful, and now the game kind of catches him, and he's not as highly touted of a recruit as you would think.
When soccer is not for example, if you go recruit a quarterback in football, you can see if he throws 5 touchdown passes. In basketball, you can see how many assists a point guard has. When was soccer not being a high-scoring game, do you maybe have to go evaluate even more games till you can see him in a scoring opportunity?
I think so, and it's not just scoring. I mean, that's the one thing that's hard. Soccer is a pretty subjective sport, what makes a good defender, what makes a good midfielder. Obviously, you want your forwards to score, but we always joke, man. We wish we could be a track coach. We could say, well, we're gonna the guy who runs the 10-second 100-yard dash we're gonna take over the 12-second 100-yard dash, or a guy in golf that shoots a 65 is gonna be probably better than a guy that shoots a 72. So, but we don't do that as much. So we try to see guys a lot. I feel like you need to see a kid at least 3 times to kind of get a feel for him. But we have ID camps, so kids come to campus on camps. We go and see them play. We talk to the club coaches, and I think since we've been in the state of Michigan and been in the business now for a couple decades, we've got really good relationships with club coaches that we can trust, and they'll shoot us straight on some of the players.
That's fascinating to me. We're talking to the great Damon Rensing, the MSU soccer coach. So I want to get back to 3 teams in the Big Ten being in the Final Four. That's huge. How many of the 14 Big Ten schools have soccer?
9.
Okay. Now hockey has added like a Notre Dame. Would you like to see them add maybe some schools that don't have soccer just for soccer, or do you like it at 9?
I think 9 is actually a pretty good number. You play 8 games, we get another 8 or 9 non-conference games. I think it works really well. The addition of Maryland and Rutgers, we used to have 7, and we used to think, could we add somebody before? But back then they didn't really want to add an affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about Notre Dame back 10, 12 years ago, but the Big Ten wasn't too keen on that. So it was interesting to see them make that move with John Hopkins, I think, in lacrosse. But 9 is great. Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, Purdue, and Nebraska are the 5 that don't.
Fascinating to me. So is the Big Ten in soccer what the SEC is in football? I mean, is the Big Ten, I would assume with 3 or 4, but I don't know the rolling trends. Are they the big dog?
We're one of them. I would probably say on a year in, year out, the ACC is probably stronger the conference. But the Big Ten has been ranked anywhere from 1 to 3 as one of the top 3 conferences year in and year out.
Your recruiting style. Again, I keep going back to Izzo and D'Antonio because that's what people here know. Their philosophy is, especially Izzo's, within 5 hours, that kid's going to be mine. I'm going to do everything. I want him close. Is that yours? Do you go a little bit broader? What's the Damon Rensing theory?
We stay pretty Midwest, 5 hours. There's a lot of truth to that. We definitely have some players that have come out from outside that region. But if you look at our starting lineup, we had, I think, 6 or 7 starters from the state of Michigan, 2 from Illinois, 1 from Indianapolis, and then we had a Danish kid from Denmark. So he was kind of the outlier. He was really good.
Did you go recruit him in Denmark?
No, he transferred from Cincinnati. He was a really good player at Cincinnati, and he fit a position that we needed and was looking for a program, and so it was a really good fit. Okay,
and then one more question, then we're going to come back. I got emails from the listeners I think are really cool. But I want to ask you about, you talk about him transferring. With your success, can that have an impact maybe with some more grad transfer players that say, hey, can we get in?
We haven't done the grad transfer too much, but we had 2 transfers in the program. I don't like to do a whole lot more than that. We're very selective on the character as much as the soccer. because our culture and chemistry has been very good, and I don't want to lose that based on bringing in kids that we're not sure that we know as well. But we try to do our homework and research, and John Freitag and Patrick Nielsen were vital and huge assets to us as transfers.
Awesome. All right, when we come back with Damon Rensing, your emails. And I'm going to tell you, you guys are smart. I enjoy watching Damon's team, but I'm not a soccer aficionado. Woo, you people are.
When you need tickets to any event, border to border, coast to coast, or around the world, there's only one source for your tickets. It's theticketmachine.com, the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. You can reach them at 517-655-3201 or 888-887-4411. When you need tickets to any event, whether it's just to get in the door or you want the best seats in the house, go to www.theticketmachine.com, the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation.
Welcome back, Spartan Nation Radio, here at our Okemos Ticket Machine studios. Remember, you need tickets to any event, border to border, coast to coast, theticketmachine.com, 888-887-4411, 517-655-3201, theticketmachine.com. Spartan Basketball, remember, the next 4 games, the IZone is not here. So get the IZone experience right now for your grandkids, for your kids, for you, your girlfriend, your in-laws, the in-laws you want to be your in-laws, your outlaws, whatever it is, theticketmachine.com. Pistons, Red Wings, Lions, and anything you can imagine if it requires a ticket. Joined by the one and the only, the great Damon Rensing, MSU soccer coach. Damon, are you ready? Because I got emails from the listeners.
All right, let's go.
First one comes from Jeff. Jeff says, Hondo, could you please congratulate Coach on making it to the Final Four? I think it's great. I went out and watched it in the snow. I loved it in the bad weather. I'm not the hugest soccer guy because when I was growing up, soccer wasn't a big deal. But I brought both of my grandsons, and it was great. The snow, the mud, the cold, it was wonderful. I wanted to ask him, in hockey, there's been some discussion about how to get more goals to keep it more interesting. Would he like to see a bigger net, or does he think it's perfect just the way it is? I'm asking as an old man. My grandkids love it, and I had a blast at the game. This is not a complaint.
Actually, though, we've talked to several people, some were all soccer fans at Michigan State. They said that was really one of their coolest Michigan State athletic experiences they've had in years, that game against James Madison in the cold. But I don't think they'll do a whole lot to change it. I think soccer is what it is, similar to hockey. I think more and more people are watching it. Like his grandkids, I think it's the number 2 sport behind basketball that is watched by males 18 to 25 years old. So I think they kind of got it. They're a little bit traditionalist on those kinds of things. So I don't think you'll see a whole lot change within the game.
Next one comes to us from Justin. Justin said, Hondo, I've never been to a soccer game in my life. My fiance's family went to the game in the snow that sent him to the Final Four, so I went along. That was a riot. The fans were great. It was really kind of like the IZone a little bit, the way they used to be, not the way they are now. It was rocking. It was fun. Could you ask Damon, could he ever picture like the Cold War playing a soccer game at Spartan Stadium like against Michigan? I think we could pack it for that. That comes from Justin, and I've asked you that question before at a press conference, but I wanted you to answer that.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be cool. Obviously, it takes a lot to put on. The width of the football field is a little more narrow, so we'd have to see if we could get it wide enough. But I think for something like that, I know that was even something that Mark Hollis brought up to me, a handful of years ago. So I think it'd be cool. I think if it was the right time and right place, I would love to see some tailgaters and a huge crowd and play in Spartan Stadium.
Okay, now this is another one playing off that's from Rosalina. Okay, Rosalina says, Hondo, I love soccer. I really enjoyed it. Once it gets cold, however, I don't go. But I had a quick question, if you could ask the soccer coach this. I think it would be fun to see a Michigan State-Michigan game either at the Big House or at Spartan Stadium with a big crowd. I think the crowd would be there. I think it would be a lot of fun. Maybe even on a Saturday, play a football game at noon and a soccer game at night under the lights. Would Coach like to play one there, piggyback with a football game, and does he think Michigan would play them?
I think Michigan would be up. I think Shaka over there at Michigan, the head coach for soccer, does a good job, and I think they would be up for something along those lines. It'd be hard for us to play after a football game because we rely on the surface and the ball or roll on the, especially if it's grass. I guess if it was turf, that'd be a little bit different, but it would almost have to be the opposite, and I'm not sure if that's how that works. It'd probably have to be on separate days.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It'd probably have to be on separate days of the game. But maybe a Friday night before a big Saturday home football game or something.
All right, the next one comes to us from, I already read Jeff, from Greg. Greg says, Hondo, I really enjoyed the soccer team this year. They were fun. Does Damon see a time when even more of it gets on the Big Ten Network?
I think the Big Ten Network does a good job of kind of splitting it up, and when it gets to the NCAA tournament, ESPN has the rights for all NCAA tournament matches in sports, I think, just about outside of golf and a few others. The Big Ten Network could purchase the opportunity to show one of those games. But I think you'll keep seeing it going on TV. I think the Big Ten Network will keep pushing that way, and we'll see more and more soccer on TV for sure.
Okay, the next one comes from Mary. Mary says, Hondo, I know that Coach D'Antonio and Izzo talked about how big an influence the Big Ten Network had on recruiting. Is it that way in college with soccer?
Absolutely. I think we've got a couple kids from Boston, New Jersey. I think when you add Rutgers and Maryland, but also they can see the games on TV, and the parents know that, hey, I don't have to be at every game. I can sit back and watch now, whether it's on the linear Big Ten Network or BTN Plus. They can see a lot of the stuff. So it has definitely expanded our reach, I think, for recruiting.
Okay, the next one comes to us from Chap. Chap says, Hondo, really enjoyed the soccer season. Please congratulate Coach Rensing. I don't know much about soccer, but I do know when coaches win, there's lots of changes and chances to move. Is he happy at Michigan State? Do we need to get something going to keep him here?
I'm pretty happy here at Michigan State. I've invested the last 25 years basically in my life, from a player as an assistant coach. We love the community. My wife and 2 kids really enjoy the area. There's not a whole lot that we can complain about. I mean, there's always things we can improve within the program, but I think Michigan State's a successful place. It's an awesome athletic department to be at. So probably not. Now my one assistant, Ben Pierman, who was a longtime assistant, he just took a job coaching professional soccer in Memphis. So I think anytime the program has success, your assistants have the opportunity to move on, and you'll probably see a change or two in that.
Okay, the next one comes to us from Dana. Dana says, Hondo, quick question for Coach. I'm a single mom. My kids are big soccer fans. Can he talk about what are some good camps to go to? We're being bombarded with camps for my kids. They're 7 and 8. I just want to know what ones are good ones and what ones aren't. I appreciate day camps at like the YMCA. Those are great. But if I was going to spend the money for Christmas, is it worth the money to go to a Michigan State camp at 7 and 8? Does he think that they get enough help there? Please help me. I'm a single mom without a ton of resources, but I want to help my boys.
We do 2 winter camps in Duffy, and the kids have a blast. And it's actually geared towards, I think ages 7 to 13 or 6 to 13. We do stations, both the guys and girls. It's a co-ed camp, so it's we separate them, but we have boys and girls there. The guys and girls on the team are there. The coaches are there. It's about 3 hours on a Sunday. I think 1 in February, 1 in March. I think the dates are online if you go onto our website and look. And I think it's relatively reasonable. And I think those are really good. Basically, with the camps, they're not going to turn around in 3 hours and be like the best soccer player ever. Mm-hmm. But if they can pick up some things that we teach them, and then take that home and practice, or go back to their youth teams and rec teams and apply it, then I think that'll help.
Okay, the next one comes from Lance. Lance says, Hondo, my grandchildren are all into soccer, the boys and the girls. I've had some frustration with soccer, and I'd like you to ask Coach Rensing what I can do about it. When I was a boy, my parents sent me to camp. I went and learned fundamentals. It wasn't a whole lot of scrimmaging. You went to basketball camp to learn how to do the fundamentals of basketball. I went to football camp. I went, in fact, to one of Duffy Doherty's camps myself. I would want to send them, if they want to get better, to camps where they learn fundamentals. Does he agree going to camp and getting babysat and just scrimmaging isn't the same as going and learning fundamentals?
Correct. Especially at the younger ages, I think scrimmaging should be kind of like a treat for hard work when you work at the fundamentals. So if you've got a hour and 15-minute practice with the kids, I think the first 45 minutes to an hour should be on the fundamentals. And then the last 15 minutes is kind of the fun and play. I mean, you can always make some of the drills for the fundamentals. But yeah, I think that's really important. That's what we do at our camps. We spend the 3 hours in the morning doing stations and individual skills and working on the fundamentals. And then they go to lunch, and then they come back in the afternoon and they get to play games. So we do kind of a mix and match. But the game is a good teacher, so I think it's important they do play some games.
All right, we're not going to get to them all, but I'm going to do one last one. Is that okay?
Right, that's
and
great.
then we're going to get to Brian Posey. But this comes to us from Scott, and I thought this was really cool. Scott says, "Dear Mr. Carpenter, I did not grow up with soccer even mattering. My high school didn't have soccer. In fact, I think you and I are pretty close to the same age. But now it seems to have taken a boom. My children play soccer. I know most of my friends' kids play soccer. But I have a question for the coach. Does the CTE concerns in football, has he seen that cause a rise in soccer playing among youth?" I thought that was a good question.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. I think obviously football's taken a little bit of a hit, and kids are playing, a lot of different sports. So I'm assuming there is a little bit of a pickup from soccer on the CTE, just because there were so many kids playing youth football, and they probably dispersed into basketball and baseball and soccer and some of the other sports. But I think one of the reasons why you see it on such a rise is, like I said, these games are 90 minutes. I know there's not a ton of scoring, but the fans know that they're in and out in 2 hours. You go to a football game or a baseball game nowadays, and it's a half a day by the time you get there and park. And so I think people have really drawn to that. I think that the crowds are more interactive in soccer. You get the Red Cedar Rowdies that are always chanting and screaming. And
They are nuts for you guys.
They love it, and they're awesome. And so...
How big is that group?
There's about Nick and Erica kind of lead it, and there's a handful of them, but then it kind of expands, and depending on, if it's a Tuesday night or a Friday night or whatever, but they come out really rain or shine and support it.
That's pretty awesome. He is the great Damon Rensing, and I'm going to add this. I think it helps you too, because baseball is almost impossible to watch, pro baseball. And college football is getting there. It's so long now with all the breaks. I think it helps you. You guys are in and out.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things like on a Sunday afternoon or a Friday night. I mean, you can come to a soccer game at 7 o'clock, you're out of there at 9, and the college kids can still do what they want to do on a Friday night. Parents can get their kids home at a reasonable hour, and yeah, it's been great.
He is the great Damon Rensing. I hope you enjoyed this. I always love having you on.
It's good.
Awesome. The great Damon Rensing, Final Four guy. Now, oh, by the way, will you put a flag out at the stadium, or
we do have we did have a huge banner, so we will have to figure out where to put that, if we can put it on the scoreboard or on the back of the press box where our practice field is right there, so the kids can see that every day. But we'll definitely try to figure out something.
I agree. He's the great Damon Rensing, MSU soccer coach. When we come back, Brian Posey, the grand poobah of the Ticket Machine.
SMD Law is the official law firm of Spartan Nation, serving the entire state of Michigan from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula, with offices in East and West Michigan. They're your full-service attorney firm, whether it's elder law, whether it's criminal law, civil law, just a letter to an annoying neighbor. If it requires an attorney for you, it's SMD Law. Find them on the internet at smdalaw.com. Call them 866-529-3537 or 586-264-3756. Call first, then you act. First.